Okay, it's James Maduke speaking. We're back again working on a WordPress install. Again, just very, very straightforward stuff. What we need to do at this point is two things. One is we've got to go and make sure that we have what? A database installed. Yeah, we need a database, a MySQL database for WordPress to work. And where do you actually go and find a MySQL database, and what is it? Well, the bottom line is you really don't need to know what it is or how it works, just the fact that your web hosting solution or where you do your web hosting has one. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I'll log out from one here. I'm just going to close some windows here so that we do a fresh one. Obviously, I went and took a look beforehand to make sure that we had one properly set up. And in fact, we do. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you start to finish what happens when you actually have to go in and create a database. Now, here's some. I'm going to show you. Here we'll go. I'm just going to go first to www.wmfsb.com. Now, this is the Online Selling University, which is my membership site, where there's some really neat benefits. Three of the big ones are there's live coaching every week, up to 3 hours of live coaching with me, and two really important services. One of them is web hosting. You actually get to host your websites on my servers, and these are my servers that I actually use and run for my particular site, so you can bet that I make sure that they're in top-notch and well taken care of. The other thing is you get web hosting, unlimited web hosting for 5 domains. You can have as many subdomains, as many SQL databases. They're all set up and fully configured. But you also get a free My Small Biz shopping account, which is a fully featured shopping account, shopping cart that has unlimited autoresponders, unlimited products and catalog, ad tracking, your own 2-tier affiliate program. Again, that's all part of Online Selling University. So here's the membership portal, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, we're going to go into, obviously I have a link for this normally, but I'm just going to type it in for you today, and what we're going to do is log into the control panel. Now, this control panel that I use is one called Plesk. I have another server that uses one called cPanel. Just understand that these are pieces of software that run on web servers to make it easy for people like me and you to actually go in and do some stuff. So what we're going to do in this case is I'm going to log in. So I put my username and password from my web host, and it's going to open up, in my case, the control panel. And the control panel is really neat because it allows me to do some neat stuff. And in this particular case, what we're going to do is we've got to take a look at a domain. In this case, my customers get a minimum of 5 domains as part of their membership, and we've got one domain set up here. If we wanted to set up a new one, in this particular one, what we would do is add a new domain or use a domain template, for example. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on this one. And why are we going to do that? Well, because what we want to do is we want to work on that domain called petermcleveland.com, because that's where we're doing the install. Now, with the control panel, I have some other videos that go through these in detail, but you can go and set up mail accounts and subdomains and protected directories, all sorts of neat stuff here. But in this case, what we needed to do for the WordPress installs, we had to have a database. So I'm going to left mouse click on database, and in this particular case, I came ahead earlier, set this up. I created a database called WP Data. So I'm just going to do a left mouse click on that, and it says, okay, great, there's a database. Do we have a user for it? And in my case, I added a new user called WP Data again and gave it a password. And that's all you need to do when you're doing these databases, is you don't have to figure it out or any of that stuff. You're going to add a database and add a user with a password. That's all there is to it to get the database set up. Now, why is that important? Well, let's go back and take a quick look at the README file. for WordPress. And again, this is the file that we started to look at earlier. It says open up the wp-config-sample.php file with a text editor like WordPad or similar and fill in your database connections. And then save the file as wp-config.php. So I'm just going to show you what I did. Go back to Internet or the Windows Explorer to find the folder where we unzipped all these files, and in fact that's what I did. So this file right here that I just did a left mouse click on used to be called wp-config.php, but what I did is I did a left mouse on it to highlight it, then I did a right mouse click to do open with, and I like WordPad because it formats it a little more nicely. So I opened it with WordPad, and this is what's inside that file. And what I did is I just put in the database name that we did, WP Data, the user, WP Data, and I put in a password. In this case, I just did a dummy password for password so that you know what it is. And it says localhost right here. In many cases, you won't need to change that. That just lets them know that the SQL database that you're using is on the same machine. It's local. And in this case, you really don't have to change anything after that. The only time you might have to change is if your web host only allows you to have one SQL database. You can put WordPress 1 or WP2 or whatever, and that will put a little prefix on all of the database information that gets inserted so that you don't get them mixed up. So when we're finished, all you need to do is basically close that file, rename it to wp-config.php, and you're finished. So it said, in the instructions it said, make those little changes, create the database, and then do what? It said send the files up, upload the file. So in fact, that's what I did. I use a little program called Smart FTP. It's a free client. This one says unlicensed. It's a free one that they have a free and a pro version. I don't use the pro version, but it's pretty neat. The way that it works, it's kind of like this. Let me do it. Maybe top and bottom would be the best way. We've got, in this case, we've got FTP account, a username and a password, and basically it's saying, here's the FTP account. The FTP account gives me access to the server where I'm going to be storing all of these files. Well, where do I want to put them? Where do I want to put them? So we're just logging back in. In most cases, most of these servers have something that'll either say public HTTP or HTTP docs or HTTP public. That's where you want to put all of the files that are going to show up on the website. So in this particular case, I just did a double click and I opened up. See, with this side here on the left hand side, if I click on HTTP docs, what happens is the right hand side shows me what's in there, and when I started it was empty. So what I did is I took, and all I'm doing is I'm opening up another window with Smart FTP to look at the local browser. And what's the local browser? Well, the local browser is just my hard drive on my machine, my computer at home in my office. The first one is this web server. The second one is the machine that I started. So all I did is I found the folder. You can see all of the different folders I have on my computer, my desktop. I've got 4 or 5 different hard drives and network connections. You know, you're probably just on your C drive, for example, but you want to be able to find those files. And in this case, remember we had WordPress and files and we unzipped them all. So all I did is I selected all of the files, and if you don't know how to select files, you start at the top, for example, just do a left mouse click on the top file. You use the scroll bar to drag the cursor down to the bottom, and at the very bottom one, what you do is you hold the shift key down and then do a left mouse click on the bottom one, and what it does is it highlights or selects all of the files from the top to the bottom. So I've got them selected now. I do a left mouse click and I hold the mouse down, and all I did is I dragged it over to where I wanted them to show up, which is where? On the web server. And then I let go and it transferred them all over. So in fact, I basically now got WordPress configured, and I've got it uploaded to the web server. So what do I do now? Well, we don't need to do this anymore. This FTP account we've already got moved over. Let's go back and take a quick look at the README. And the README says open the wp-admin install PHP in your browser.